you begin to, you know when it's time to let it go and walk in who you are. Because I believe you will begin to see cracks in your armor. But it's
Mm.
not really cracks in your armor because those who know you, they've seen that person all the time.
Yeah.
But those who don't really know you, they only see what they need to see because of their mask. Hi, welcome to this edition of Real Talk with TAS and OnJerya. I'm your host, a co-host, Dr. Teresa A. Smith, Dr. TAS. OnJerya is my lovely Scorpio sister who tries to keep me under control, but sometimes she just has a little hard time doing it, but I enjoy that with her in a nice way. So let's see if we can get her brought in because I can see that she's there, about to be there. How you
Oh,
doing, Andrea?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Okay, what is that? Oh, hey, Cyrus. Thank you for joining us. Hi, Addie. Thank you for joining us too.
Hi, everybody. I can't see you
Hi,
guys.
Smith.
So hi.
Hi, Smith Elliott. Thank you for joining us too. Did you say you can't you don't see me tonight, Angelia?
No, I don't. And I didn't I see that you were talking to people and I'm like, I don't see them. I don't see the
Yeah.
comments.
Okay, well, I'll try to make sure I stay on top of the comments. Okay. Hey,
Yes.
hey. Okay. Well, Miss Angelia, I'm going to give it to you because I know you've been burning to talk about this.
Not burning to talk about it.
Yes.
Oh Lord. So picture it. Cicely. Hey Addie. Okay, now I see it. Okay. Hey Addie. Yes. Hey Cyrus. Okay. So we were talking on Sunday, we as in me and you.
Hmm.
And, I was checking in with someone and, I was asking them how was their day? And they was like, oh, their day was beautiful. They went to church. And I was like, okay, was it a good subject, good sermon? And they was like, yes. So then they gave me the scripture, and the scripture that they gave me was two kings, Second Kings, the 8th chapter, the first to the 6th verse.
Hmm.
And the title was, I Want It All Back. And I said, okay. So you know me, for those that know me, I love to do some research. So I started researching, and then, me and Teresa, we talking about the parable that went along with it. And I was like, something to think about. So then yesterday, you had your TAS moment,
Hmm.
and you were talking about the mask, right? And I don't remember the book or that you were referring or referencing in your TAS moment. But I was like, okay. And then, I was talking to you and I said, it seems like da 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 is me and da 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 are in that Esau fable, right?
Hmm.
Where you have the hare and the tortoise. And it seems
Hmm.
like I'm the tortoise and they the
Hmm.
hare.
Hmm.
And I'm like, okay. Lord, what you trying to weave, what you trying to weave. So today I was driving and it all came together. I was like, okay, Lord, what you want us to talk about? Okay, I need you to decrease O and increase you. What is it that we are supposed to be talking about? What do these three things have in common? What are the similarities? What are the differences? And I did some quick research. And when I went to research the mask, right? I Googled it. It came up, the mask, which we've all, I'm sure, have seen. It came out in the 90s with Jim Carrey. And as we know, Jim Carrey, he's hilarious. He's a really funny comedian and also a great actor. And basically, he stumbled upon this mask. But and when he puts the mask on, it gives him this superpower. He becomes larger than life. But when he doesn't have the mask on, he's just, your average Joe, person that gets overlooked and looked over, like no one kind of knows who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, okay, but what does that have to do with the tortoise and the hare? And I'm like, okay, so you are the tortoise, which means that things are happening for you. It may not seem like it's lightning speed, but you're not remaining stagnant. You're continuing to grow. While this person, who's the hare, they're remaining stagnant. They're moving at like lightning speed, but they're on this hamster wheel to nothing, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
of course with the I want it all back with the scripture, I was like, okay, obedience, having faith. So I say all that to say when I did some research, all three of these things are about identity,
Mm-hmm.
pride, faith, and perseverance. Are you ready?
Okay.
All right. So the first thing that I mentioned, of course, was the mask. Jim Carrey and the mask. We know that again. We know a lot of people that wear masks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, meaning that they're not their authentic self. They present themselves as one way, the representative. And then once you get to know them, that's not really who they are, especially with social media, at work, even with relationships. I know plenty of people that, when you first met them, they're so loving, they're so caring, they're so generous, even resourceful.
Mm-hmm.
But then, as they say, down through the years, they're no longer able to wear that mask. The true them that's in them eventually comes out and we meet them. Okay. So when we talk about the mask, right, with Jim Carrey, his character was Stanley Ipkiss. I was like, oh yeah, I remember this. I ain't seen it in a minute. Yes, I did say eight. But his character is Stanley Ipkiss. Okay. And like I stated, he's basically lacking the confidence when he is himself, right? He
Mm-hmm.
doesn't know who he is. He wants people to like him, but people don't like him just because he's not their cup of tea. He's
Mm-hmm.
not their caliber person that they would like to be around. Okay. So as we know in the movie, once he put that mask on, he's now larger than life. He becomes a very flashy person. He's lovable. He's likable. He's that heartthrob. He's pulling women. People are just really, really like gravitating to him, which they would not be gravitating to him if he was his authentic self. So when I thought about that, I said, And when you was talking about in your TAS moment yesterday with the mask, I said we have a modern identity struggle.
Mm-hmm.
We do not know who we are. Therefore, we seek comfort in the mask. And when I have that mask on, I am larger than life. I do things that I probably wouldn't normally do without that mask. It's like I create a whole um what is it,
A whole new universe,
a whole
basically.
new universe, a whole new persona. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm just not even who I really am. And it's like I buy into that cover story. And as we said on this platform, and as we said offline, people just really need to be their authentic self.
Mm-hmm.
You tend to get further in life if you really just be you and stop trying to be who people think you should be. I agree, Addie. The mask is a camouflage.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
It is. It's very much a camouflage. And it's easy to hide behind that because then you don't ever have to know who I am. Meaning, like, you don't have to meet the real me. You just meet the person that I portray. But what happens is, again, you then buy into that cover story. And as a result, you really hurt yourself. So, thinking about the movie The Mask, and I know Teresa's been a long time since she's seen it. And thinking back to your TAS moment, if you can turn it back.
Mm-hmm.
How would you approach someone, or how would you approach a situation if you saw that someone was having an identity crisis and they wasn't able to get to the things that they thought that this mask that they created was going to help them get to?
Let me restate the question to make sure I understand. So you're asking me if I was interfacing with someone and they were having an identity crisis and they thought and they believed that their mask was going to help them achieve their goal, when in fact their goal was not achievable using the mask? Is that what you're asking me? How would I work with that person? You've heard me talk about this before, and I don't know if I've talked about it online many moons ago now. It hasn't been that many moons, but it's been many moons now, probably been 10 years. I was teaching a class and I had two students. And one lady was from like Georgia and the other person was from New Jersey area. And they both were in a counseling program. I can't remember what his work was, but her work was taxes. So neither one of them had any idea about what it meant to be a counselor. And so they both failed the first assignment. And so I met with them. And so when I was talking with the gentleman, I was trying to figure out something to help him to understand how to do his assignment. And the assignment was about collaboration or either consultation. Maybe one of those words is what was used. And I said to him, I said, when we talk and we use those words just ordinarily, we think we have an understanding of what they mean. But when you're actually doing an assignment, you need to make sure you understand what they mean, because then you can understand your assignment. So I said to him, don't think bad of it. Just pick up the dictionary or look on your computer, whatever, and see what the word means. And so he was like, okay, Dr. Smith. Yeah, I was Dr. Smith. Okay, Dr. Smith. And so he would go into the New York City to go to the library. And I could tell he was doing a whole lot of work, but he had no context for what he was doing, first of all. Second of all, it was very obvious to me he didn't understand what the words meant. And so, my thing is, it might be my superpower. I never thought of it that way. But if I can ever figure out what clicks for you, what you understand, usually God will help me to explain something to you and you get it. Well, I asked this guy, do you do this? Do you do that? Because I'm really trying to figure out what he does that I understand. And finally, the only thing that he understood, well, I shouldn't say he understood, the only thing that he did that I understood was he went to church. And I said, oh, you go to church? I said, okay. I said, well, I go to church. I said, so you know the Bible? He said, yes. And so I said, you know the parable about when Jesus fed the multitudes? He said, yes. I said, we don't think about it this way. I said, but when Jesus fed the multitudes, him and the disciples, they had to collaborate.
Mm-hmm.
There had to be some consultation there. Because you see, if we didn't do a consultation and talk about the plan, then there's no way we can then feed the multitudes. Because remember, what is it? 3 loaves and 5 fishes. I always get it confused. They didn't have much food, but it seemed the baskets never ran empty. I said, so it wasn't like, we got this big multitude. So that means we had to have a plan. You're going to pair me up with so-and-so. You're going to pair this person up with so-and-so. Teresa, you're going to take this side of the field. So-and-so, you're going to take that side. There was a plan. They had to collaborate to be able to feed all these people. I said, that's collaboration. When you come together and you work on a plan and then you execute it. I said, the consultation part is when you're working out the plan, you're dialoguing, you're mapping out your action plan, you're working on your business plan. This is what I'm going to do this week. This is what I'm going to do this month. This is what I'm going to do this quarter. This is how we're going to feed this multitude. And he said to me, he never had anybody use the Bible to help him to understand an assignment. And I told him a couple of other things that I wanted him to do, which might still be relevant here, because I told him, when you're in the line for the subway, restaurant, whatever, just strike up a question with the people and ask, what do you do? Yeah. And I said, what you're trying to do is talk to someone who actually works in the arena that you work in, because you don't know what it takes. So you're reading all of this information, great research, but you're putting it together, but you have no context. So therefore, you're putting it together nicely, but you're not answering the question because you have no context for this profession. Well, needless to say, he thanked me and he got an A out of the class. So when you ask me, how would I work with someone who believes that the mask is going to get them what they want, when in fact the mask really delays them getting what they want? Right. I would be very, guys, some people say I'm confrontational. It's not that I'm confrontational. I don't like for people to wallow. Life is too short. It's very fleeting. We don't have time to wallow. I'll let you wallow for a little bit, but you can't stay in that place because life is moving so quickly. So I would do the same thing that I did with that young man. And then I would then help that person to understand how when they're thinking they're taking 2 steps forward, they're really taking 3 or 4 steps backwards, because whomever you're really trying to impress, wherever you're really trying to go, when you put that mask on, that person, that opportunity, you lose it because you're not authentic and you don't understand whomever you're trying to impress, wherever you're trying to go, they're looking for real people and they can see that you're not real. You're a character. And I'm going to say this, OnJerya, because I'm hoping that has answered your question, but I want to say something. Does that answer your question before I make a statement?
It does.
Okay. When you were talking, let me tell you what came to my mind. Did the disciples know that Jesus wasn't wearing a mask? No, they didn't know it. They thought he was wearing a mask. Because who do men say that I am? They walking with him, seeing the miracles that he's done, and they still didn't understand he was the Messiah. They thought he was wearing a mask. They didn't understand they were actually with the Messiah, and that was his authentic self. Yeah. And you know I like the Garden of Gethsemane because he was being authentic when he said, if it be thy will that the cup should pass over. So he in the flesh. But they thought he was wearing a mask because we wear masks. But he wasn't wearing a mask. No. Yeah, they speak to me, yeah. But yeah, it is deep, Addie, because that's what came to me. That's how they could not know who he was. That's how Peter could deny him 3 times before the cock crowed, because they thought he was wearing a mask. They didn't understand he didn't have to wear a mask because he was all powerful. Now I want folks to get this, because this is the crux of what you're trying to get us to see. Yeah. If you don't wear the mask, you got all power. What you want to occur is going to occur because you're you and your authentic self, that rare diamond that nobody else can be. But you got to embrace that. Then others can embrace it. I give it back to you, OnJerya.
I agree, because it's all about what they say, surrounding yourself with like-minded people. So if you are surrounding yourself with yes people, right? Mm-hmm. Like people who are afraid to really tell you I know this is a great idea. Like I know that this is the idea that you have, right? But let's take a step back and think about it a little bit more, kind of massage it a little more,
Mm-hmm.
because the delivery, the outcome may not be what you're looking for. And then what? But if you
Mm-hmm.
got people around you that's like, oh, yeah, I think that's a great idea. Oh, what? What? Oh,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely. I think you should go and build that house on sand. Okay. Now you going to go build that house on sand.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now the tide done came in. Now tsunami done came in. Now it's raining. Now it's flooding.
Mm-hmm.
Now your house not standing anymore because you didn't have anyone that was in your circle that was authentic to
Yes.
tell you, I don't think that's a good idea. I understand that you may want to build it on sand, but let's not build the actual foundation on sand. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
let's
Mm-hmm.
let's think of something else that we can utilize the sand for, and that's and it's just with people. With people. We want to be liked and loved and cherished so much. And it's like, no, you need to be you. You need to be your authentic self. But I understand you don't know who your authentic self is because of the fact that you have grown comfortable with this mask. And as we always talk about, you then buy into your own cover story. But when it's
Mm-hmm.
time to produce, now you can't produce unless you have your mask.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, as a result, you tend to miss out on things because of that mask. And it's almost like, what is it, Linus with the blanket
Uh-huh.
on it's Peanut, but what is it, Snoopy?
Uh-huh.
Linus can't go nowhere
Charlie
without that
Brown. I
blanket.
guess it could be Charlie Brown. Charlie
And
Brown, I guess it was the
Charlie
thing.
Brown, Snoopy and all that. He
Uh-huh.
can't go nowhere without that blanket.
Mm-hmm.
We see him episode after episode after episode after episode, and he has that blanket. And it's like it's providing that security. But
Mm-hmm.
again, when it's time to actually be you and do what you're called to do, because you've been walking walking with this mask on that's not you, it's just, again, this persona that you've created that helps you deal with the nerves of actually having to deal with you. So
Mm-hmm.
we don't want to deal with me. Like, I don't want to deal with me. I can deal with you, and I can deal with this person that I've created that is a persona or a version of me, but me actually having to deal with my authentic self, knowing that I have flaws. Because, you got people who are like, what? I am perfect. And I'm going to be perfect. And they pay money to be perfect. And then when something goes wrong, it's like, well, you never loved yourself. You never had that self awareness because, again, you were trying to be something that wasn't you to be. Because if you were supposed to look a certain way, if you were supposed to do certain things, then those opportunities would present itself. You would have been born that way to look that way if you're supposed to have all that. Now, again, there's nothing wrong. If you want to have some enhancements, I'm here for it. But let's be natural. Don't go overboard to now we don't even know if you even know who you are anymore, right? Because you've gone away from you. And now you've created this person that you're not. And then you feel some kind of way when, again, I agree. Sorry. Some people don't know how to be vulnerable and realize the strength in that.
Mm-hmm. And Cyrus also said, reminds me of Tears of a Clown by Smokey Robinson. And of
Yeah.
course, I'm moving because I got to, that's one of my songs. I'm thinking about the lyrics. I had to hear the lyrics. And you're right. It is the tears of a, people say I'm the life for the party because I tell a joke or two. But, but deep inside, I'm crying on the inside. And then what Addie said also, even with the disciples not realizing who Jesus was, even John the Baptist asked, are you the one basically that, even though he should have known that that we've
Right.
been hearing is going to come. So again, like you're saying, we get so lost in wearing the mask, we lose our strength.
Yes.
We lose the strength.
I agree. So, which moves us to the tortoise
Mm-hmm.
and the hare. So when we think about the tortoise and the hare, you know, it's the modern pace and comparison. And I think we've been talking about that like the last few weeks
Yeah.
about how you don't need to be trying to compare yourself to other people, how you don't need to be worried about how they pray and how they get it done. Just worried about how you get it done, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But when we think about the tortoise and the hare, everything is very fast paced, right? People feel pressure to keep up. Okay. It's like, oh, you have the latest iPhone, whatever. I don't have an iPhone, but whatever the latest edition that's out, 10, 12, 16, 18, what have you. Okay, now I got to go get it. Well, why do you got to go get it? Is there something wrong with your phone? Well, no, it still works, but I just got to have the latest and greatest. Do you really have to have the latest and greatest, or are you choosing to have the latest and greatest because you're trying to keep up with everybody else?
Mm-hmm.
So, as a result of operating as the hare, the rabbit, it leads to you being burnt out, taking them shortcuts, and again feeling like you're inadequate, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like I'm not good enough. So I have to floss, Lord, when they see this. Well, they ain't on social media right now. But when they see this, they gonna get me. Um, I left home a certain way,
Mm-hmm.
and I had to. When I come back, I have to be the big man or woman on campus.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, I'm gonna go and rent, lease, what have you, this type of vehicle, so I can style and profile and have everyone thinking that illusion that I have arrived, when in
Mm-hmm.
actuality, I really haven't. And as long as I continue to care what people think of me, I'm never going to reach the potential that I could, because again, I'm trying to please man versus please self and walk in the purpose that I'm supposed to be walking into. So, we have the example of the hare. You know, this is someone who's like rushing to get rich, someone who is rushing to be famous. We know everybody wants to be a content creator, right? And we actually just talked about this. Everybody wants to be a content creator, but being a content creator is not just getting on live or recording a video and being like da 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 da, right? It has to have some substance to it, right? You have to determine. It's like business 101, okay? Marketing 101. Who is your target audience? What is your demographic? The same thing applies, right? And it's basically trial and error. Okay, I made a video like you like to cook, right? So you go live cooking. Well, I went live cooking on IG, and I don't really get a lot of interaction while I'm on live. I get the bulk of my interaction on the replays, right? Versus if I go live on Facebook, I have people popping in and out. I
Mm-hmm.
know, may not know. They're engaging with me. They're interacting with me. We're laughing. We're conversing. So, which platform really works for me? Again, what is the difference, right? What is the difference between being on IG versus being on Facebook? Well, I see that such and such, when they go live on IG, oh, they have, hundreds and thousands of people in and out of their live. Their replays numbers are this and that, and they have thousands of comments and da 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 da. But when they're on Facebook, it's not the same. So now you feel pressured, right? Because you're a content creator, to figure out what exactly is that, what they call it. It's not the niche, but do you know what I'm saying? It's like,
You're not talking algorithm. You're not talking about. Are you
Yeah.
talking about a business term or what kind of term?
No,
Are you
just
talking
in layman's term. It don't have to be the business
about? Okay,
terminology.
I don't know what you're
It's
talking about.
you're supposed to be helping me out now.
I don't know which way you can go because you go so many ways. I don't know which way you're trying to
I
say.
know, but the thing is, like, it is the algorithm, but that's not you. It probably is niche. You have to find your niche.
You have to find your niche. You have to find your audience.
Yes,
And then once
because
you find your audience, you have to deliver content that your audience wants. But the thing I think you're trying to get to is I gotta be comfortable enough here to accept the fact that my audience likes this. They
right,
don't like that.
no,
And I need to feed them what they like. Don't feed them stuff they're not gonna like. But also I think, Anjay, the thing that you're saying is I got to understand those people who have hundreds or thousands of people that are in their life, that didn't happen overnight.
no,
And that's what we forget sometimes. It is a process. And as a friend of mine always says, do the work,
gotta do the work.
do the work, and stay true to you, which is what we're talking about as far as that mask. Stay true to you. And I even go back with Sarah Still said, some people don't know how to be vulnerable and realize the strength in that. I'm trying to go fast. I'm trying to go fast like I got it all together. I don't even know how to come. This is a colloquial phrase, y'all. Don't know how to come in out the rain. I don't even know how to come in out the rain. So why am I trying to go fast? Go fast. I don't even know where I'm going. What is it, Diana Ross? Do you know where you're going? Do you like the things that life is from mahogany? You weren't
Mahogany.
born.
I remember mahogany.
Mahogany was really doing you weren't born then. But do you know where you're going? No.
No,
So if you don't know where you're going, you're probably going nowhere, right?
exactly, and that's why you then have to operate like the tortoise.
The tortoise.
You
Mm-hmm.
have to move in silence. You have to hush your mouth. Be quiet. Stop telling everybody your plan. Because again, even the people in your circle, you have to be mindful of that. Because again, when I tell somebody, even Jesus had a traitor to walk with him.
He did. He did.
So you have to be mindful of the things that you share when you're operating as that tortoise. Like you move slow, you
Mm-hmm.
take your time, you think things through. You don't just immediately jump on the bandwagon just because everybody else is jumping on the bandwagon. And I know plenty of people like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They get caught up in these they call them flim flam scam artists, these
The grifters.
the grifters, hush. Grifters with G, the grifters with G. And they get caught up in these Ponzi schemes. There you go. The Ponzi schemes. And I know everybody remember doing COVID because I ain't even gonna lie, I got sucked in.
Oh yeah.
I
Mm-hmm.
got sucked in courtesy of the third P, the middle P. She gonna get me too, but it's okay. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I can't even remember what it was called. Some people call it the flower. Some people,
Yeah,
y'all know what I'm
I
talking about.
remember that.
Some people
Mm-hmm.
did the diamond. Anyway, and it was like, oh, if you depending on if you brought so many people in and they brought so many people in and you just kept getting bumped up, bumped up, bumped up, bumped
Remember
up.
that. Mm-hmm.
But what was happening is you may have received that first payout. You may have even received that second or third payout. But ultimately, what happens is that well starts to run dry. Because now, in order for me to hit mega millions that people thought that they was going to hit, you
Yeah.
have to continue to have people that's
Mm-hmm.
sewing in
Mm-hmm.
to this game,
Mm-hmm.
but ultimately everybody's a loser
Mm-hmm.
except for the person that's at the top because
Mm-hmm. I
they're
remember.
going to get their money. Now,
Mm-hmm.
everybody after them, like I said, you may get a couple of bucks, but you're not gonna get nowhere near what you were promised. Why? Because you were acting like the hare. You had that ooh. So all I got to do is get 10 people to pay $5. And then they get 10 people to pay $5. And then they get 10 people to pay $5. Now you done jumped on the bandwagon. Everybody trying to get rich. And then now everybody looking like, where my money? I still got money tied up in something that's never going to be. But if you were like the tortoise
Mm-hmm.
and took your time and be like, oh, well, I do think that that is a good idea, but not for me. That sounds great. That is a beautiful way to get some additional money, but not for me. Because my success, I had to massage it. I had to take my time. I got to do
Mm-hmm.
some researching. I got to educate myself. I got to pray about it. I got to have a conversation with God and be like, Lord, now I'm being presented with this opportunity.
Right.
It's definitely a little too good to be true. Can you present me with a sign that if I should move forward with this? And then you get that sign, and then you have to understand that when that sign is given, that is it. Don't try to be like, well, Lord, I know I said I wanted to see a purple Lamborghini if I'm not supposed to do this. Okay, I saw that purple Lamborghini. Now,
That's it.
are you sure? Are you sure that I maybe you misunderstood? Maybe I need that yellow Volkswagen Beetle. Okay, send me a yellow Volkswagen Beetle for confirmation, and then you get that yellow Volkswagen, and then you still
I'm in a
questioning.
green one. I'm in a green beetle, not yellow.
No, you can see them in yellow, because you may be looking at TV and there's a commercial, and there goes your yellow Volkswagen for your confirmation, and then you still want to be bartering with God, like. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I don't understand, Lord. Don't you want me to overcome? Don't you want to help me? He is helping you. You not trying to help you. Because again, if we had did our research instead of jumped on that bandwagon, some of us would still have money tied up in that Ponzi scheme. Okay, because we should have been more like the tortoise, where we took our time and educated
Mm-hmm.
ourselves instead of looking at that shiny coin that was dangling, that little carrot that was dangling in front of us. So when we talk about the torch, it shows us that slow and steady and having faithful effort is going to win every time. Even if it looks like it's boring. Even if it looks like you're not getting anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it looks like, Lord, you're moving in slow motion. Teresa, I thought you'd have been further along than where you are right now.
Uh-huh.
Why is it taking you so long to get somewhere? And then you have to say to yourself, well, hair, how's that working out for you? Because it
Mm-hmm.
seems like you're not being slow and steady trying to win the race. You trying to speed up to keep up. And, he definitely has a way of sitting you down and starting you right back over at the beginning of the race while you still moving slow, picking up this deal, picking up that deal, getting getting that opportunity that if you would have took the time to do the legwork, as your mentor said, do the legwork,
Mm-hmm.
you will be further along. Don't get arrogant, because that's basically what happened with the hater. We
Yep.
get arrogant. We want to take them shortcuts, and that's what be going on when we wear that mask. Because
Mm-hmm.
when I put that mask on, I don't have to be me.
Mm-hmm.
I can look down on people. I can hold my nose up. But is that who you really are? No. You're nothing like that. But because you see other people do it and you want to get in the clique because you was raised.
I was raised by white people. Sorry, Lucille didn't raise me.
You
I was
was
raised by white people.
raised.
That's sorry, Lucille would say.
Nah, baby, you was raised that you don't swim at the
Yeah.
bottom with the fishes.
Oh, come on now.
You got to swim at the top with the shark.
They're going to get you too.
And when someone told me that,
Yeah, they're going to get you too.
I said, oh, you real treacherous in my mind.
In
I
my
don't,
mind.
I don't need to be around you. Because, see, I already know how you operate.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm like, isn't that something to tell somebody? Like, you just let all your whole card just, girl, I don't even play poker, gin, or none of that. But I'm like, you just let me see all your cards. Because you're basically telling me that you will do any and everything that it takes to get ahead. And you don't care who you have to hurt, who you have to step on
Get
to
there.
get what you need to get, which is a scary,
Amen.
treacherous, dangerous person to be around. And again, don't compare your journey to others. Let me say that again. Don't compare your journey to others.
Mm-hmm.
I want to win the lottery. This person went to, mom and pop gas station. They won $1 million off a scratch off.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, let me go to that same gas station. Let me get that same type of scratch off. Why, Lord, didn't happen to me? Because it won't for you. That's why.
Mm-hmm.
That's why. It won't for you. Maybe your money is not to come through a scratch off. Have you thought about that? Maybe the way you're supposed to receive is by doing the what? Legwork and
But
being faithful.
mm-hmm.
So when we think about the tortoise and the hare, and we still, massaging this whole mask. Do you think that if we are really committed to what we say we're going to commit to, that in the end, the results will finally pay off? Like, we'll finally see those results in the end.
The answer is yes, but the problem is I don't know me. I've been wearing a mask so long, I can't be committed to what I say that I'm committed to. I'm committed to that. Let me say that differently. Your question was, if we reset your question, because I don't want to change it. Reset your question before I respond.
No, go ahead and say it.
Well, I'm going to change it probably slightly. I can achieve what I want to achieve if I put the work in.
Right.
But I can only achieve it and it lasts if I am achieving it as my authentic person. I can't, it doesn't last. It may last 30 years, but eventually it will begin to crumble because I was not authentic going after it. Because think about it, mom and I don't think you've ever heard us talk about this, but there's a person, you may know who I'm talking about just because of how I'm going to say it. There was a lady in our town. I never heard her break her persona. I never heard her break it. I don't care how bad life could have been for her. She never broke it. And what I mean by that, guys, what I never saw her, she's a C-snot. I never saw her not be herself. She was always that person. Even when she was sick, she was that person.
Mm-hmm.
I never heard her voice not be that voice, meaning she always sounded that way. I don't care, rain, sleet, snow. She was always that voice. That made an impression on me because I never heard her break it. That was who she was.
Yeah.
That's who she was. She was a good person. That's who she was. When things were going well for her, that's who she was. When things were not going well for her, that was who she was. When she was sick and struggling, and I remember her telling me that my doctor, who's deceased now, also happened to stop by their establishment. And I don't know whether she was feeling some kind of way or what, but anyway, he told her what she needed to do. And, she got stepping. She did, even then, she was sick. She sounded the same. So this was a very successful woman. This is a person who has been deceased now, I think, over a decade. I saw something recent, over a decade.
Mm-hmm.
And people still love her. People still miss her. I'm not talking about her family. I'm talking about the community. She was a good person. She never broke protocol. She never broke that persona because she was that persona. So she was a very successful person. Yes, I think that you can achieve it, but I'm not so sure you can hold on to it when you're not your authentic self. Because let me tell you, it gets tiresome being somebody that you ain't. I'm telling you.
Ooh,
Y'all may say, I don't understand. It gets tiresome having to pretend that you're a person that you are not. Yes, like I said on one of my TAS moments sometime back when she was there, I don't really like to wear makeup. I like it when I put it on, don't get me wrong. And I like how I look, but I'm not really a makeup person. But I can put it on. But if I had to do that 365 days out the year, I'm a break. I'm a break because that's not me. I like to be clean face. And I should not have to, and I don't think I don't think our audience is going to discount me and my message and what I'm trying to share with them and with others because I don't put on makeup. Because you
right.
see, there are times I have it on, guys, and you know it, because the makeup is just a mask. My heart is my heart, and it comes through regardless. So, yes, I think that a person can achieve, but can you achieve it and hold on to it if you're doing it using a mask? That's where the issue comes in. And then I'll say you may hold on to it too, but at what cost? At what cost? What does it cost you to be able to hold on to something that really is contrary to who you are? And I think sometimes that's when we start looking at people's mental health. I think we were talking about the fact that this is Minority Mental Health Month, July is. That's when you start looking at that mental health and then how am I self-medicating in order to live this life because it's not who I am.
True. And the thing is, it's okay. You know, it's like the saying, first you don't succeed, try again.
Mm-hmm.
You're not gonna always get it
First time,
right the
third,
first time.
fourth, fifth time.
You know, when we think about these inventors,
Mm-hmm.
past, present, and even those to come in the future, it took time. It took trial and error for them to get it right. And yes, the process was frustrating, but if you commit to it and you do it the right way, I know you're like, what's the right way? Meaning that I don't want to swim with them sharks to get ahead. Because as I just stated, like minded people. So that means that if I think that way, that means the people that I'm associated with think that way. And that means that if I feel like, oh, I'll just cut you off to get ahead, they're thinking the same thing. So now nobody wins, right? Because now I have to watch my back because as they said, birds of a feather flock together.
Mm-hmm.
So can I really trust you? Can I really call you my friend? Can I really say that you got my back? Can I really say you're gonna hold me down? Of course not. Why would I? Because I don't want you to get ahead of me. I don't want you to be better than me. I don't want you to become a know-it-all. I don't want you to think that, you know, um, your success is greater than my success. But again, if you go back to being your authentic self, nobody cares. Nobody cares. Like, we all can be successful because success means different to different people. We all can achieve if we believe it, as they say. Worry about you, as they what is it? Sweep in front of your own
Doorstep.
doorstep. Stop worrying about what somebody else got. Stop worrying about, oh, well, it only took them 2 days to accomplish this, or it didn't even take them 2 days. It only took them a few hours, and it took me a whole week. Okay, well, what did you do versus what they did? Were you committed, or did you think that because of your connection that it was going to happen through osmosis. Larry talked about that a few years ago, that, it's just like a tree branch and how the
Mhm.
branches spread out, right? Because you are being blessed, everyone that is connected to you on that tree is being blessed, right? And they ain't even got to do the work. But just because they connected to you, they're being they're being blessed as a result of the connection, which is why sometimes you have to cut that connection, because I can't be doing all the heavy lifting. And you think you just gonna get here and then take all the credit like you've been doing the work the whole time. No, because again, you can operate in the capacity of the hair where you're trying to keep up, where you think if you're trying to cutthroat this person and cutthroat that person and take shortcuts, you're going to get there. You're not. And like you said, even if you get there, at what cost?
Mhm.
What do you
Absolutely.
wind up losing as a result of getting there and also maintaining? Because it's one thing to get it, but now that you got it, can you maintain it? And 9 times out of 10, no, you can't, because you didn't go about it the right way. And as we know, God don't bless mess.
No, he doesn't.
Even though some of us like to think he do, he don't bless mess. So again, be you, be who you are. Stop worrying about what other people have. Stop trying to showboat in your luxury car that you don't rent it, that you don't even own. And then that's something. Want to rent a car and can't even pay your bills. Come on now. Where your priorities at? Y'all talking about where them fans at? Where your priorities at?
Where your pride at? Oh, excuse me. Where your priorities at? Wait a minute. Where your priorities at? Wait a minute. Okay. Yeah.
You can't even keep yourself going, but you gonna go get the Maybach. You gonna go get you a Porsche, a Lambo, and can't even keep the lights on. Come on, probably can't even afford the gas to put in it. I'm just saying. Priorities. Slow and steady wins the race. As I said, stay committed, even when you don't see the results right away. Just stick with it. Okay, that's what my manager told me today. She said, just stick with it. Don't leave me, just stick with it. I promised you, I got you. And I said, okay, girl. Okay. She talking about you can add this to your resume. I said, mm-hmm. Like mine. We think alike. Sure
True.
can, honey. You ain't gotta tell me twice, okay? We just don't be going through things just to be going through things, okay? You gotta put that in your toolbox, because you never know when you're gonna have to use that again, okay? It's gonna come in handy. And then we know our last thing was the Second Kings, the 8th chapter, the first through the 6th verse. All right. And that talks about the modern faith and restoration. And that was that the subject was, I want it all back. Okay. And I thought about the Backstreet Boys when they say, I want it that way. Tell me why it ain't nothing but a heartache. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. That's the girl. Okay. That's what I thought about. Oh, so as we know, people have lost something, right? Whether it's your job, your home, your loved ones, your peace. Now, I'm probably about, I'm probably, don't get me. This is my disclaimer, okay? This is my disclaimer. I'm going to pronounce this wrong, but don't get
Oh,
me. Don't get me. And Teresa going to try to correct me. She's going to try to correct me if I pronounce it wrong. But is it the Shemanite?
uh-huh.
Is that, okay, I can't see. Is that, I
Oh,
felt
that's
like
what you can't see. That's close enough. Hmm.
I felt like with the that I'm like, oh, I butchered it.
No, you good. That's good.
Okay. So the Shemanite, again, I put my disclaimer. Biblical scholars, don't come for me, okay? I said I'm probably mispronouncing it. Lord, please forgive me, as my mama would say. You know my heart. Okay. Um, they were waiting on God to restore what was taken or broken. So as I stated, this person that I was talking to, they went to church and they gave me the scripture and the subject from what um, the pastor had spoke about, and it was, I want it all back. And like I said, I started doing research because, I didn't have a conversation with them to see, but I'm like, That's a strong statement. I want it all back. I want it all back. And my question to Teresa, because we were talking, I said, you want it all back, but can you really handle it when you get it back? So hold that thought. You want it all back, but can you handle it once you get it back? Okay. So in this parable, and I'm just paraphrasing, and Teresa's gonna get me straight if I go too far left.
Okay.
Uh, but basically, was it Elijah?
Oh, yeah.
Elijah, right?
Elijah with the SH, I think it was.
Yes, with the SHA, went to this lady, and I'm not even gonna try to pronounce that again. Went to this. I done gave y'all the scripture. Read it for yourself, okay? Uh, went to this lady and basically said there was gonna be a famine, and that you needed to leave. You and your family need to leave because it's gonna be a famine. Now, I told Teresa when I was reading her the text, I said, now, if this was us today, now let's talk about that. I said, now, if somebody came, well, not me, but, if you were just to go walk up to somebody and be like, look, Jane, there's going to be a famine. I need you to go and pack up your family and leave. I said, if you were to tell somebody that in today's time, they be looking at you like you crazy. What do you mean that there's? First of all, what's a famine? What is that? What do you mean? Like, what is a famine? And then why I got to pick up my family and leave? Okay, as a result of the famine. Why is it? We got so many questions with the why. Okay, instead of following direction, we got to be questioning the direction, right? Why is it me? I'm like, I told Teresa, I said, I wonder if Noah had that problem when he was building that ark and he had to go get to it, everything. And he was trying to get them to get on that ark, like, oh, it's gonna be a flood now. Well, what you mean it's gonna be a flood? Well, why I got to go? Like, again, that's when you have to do that deep dive into stuff, have that conversation with whomever, higher power, asking for clarification. And then, once you get it, don't keep asking for it, okay? Because he done gave it to you. It's time to act on it. But basically, Elijah, SHA, went to this nice lady, let her know that she need to pack her family up. It's going to be a famine. And she was gone for 7 years. And as a result of her being gone, again, I'm Cliff Notes version this, okay? Read it for yourself. She got back everything. Okay, she got back everything that she had walked away from. She got back her land, her home, everything that her land had produced during the duration of while she was gone, because she was being obedient. So I thought about that again with that mask, right? That God sees us when we're being obedient and we're making those sacrifices, those true sacrifices, not those sacrifices that we think we make. Okay, Lord, I didn't eat today, so I made a sacrifice. That's not a sacrifice. You just chose not to eat today. Okay, you just chose not to eat today. That's not a true sacrifice. Okay, He didn't say go hungry. Okay, like, let's start reading more into it than what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But because He sees that we are obedient and we make those sacrifices, even when others don't, again, that mask, right? But they not going without, so why should I? Stop worrying about them, worry about self. At the right time, meaning when it's time for you to have it, not when you want to have it. Say that again. When it is time for you to have it. When it is time, let me be Dr. Ladd. When it is time for you to be blessed with it. When it's your time, He can restore everything that you lost. And it comes back sometimes in an unexpected way. Stop worrying about what they got going on. Worry about self. So this lady this woman, she could have panicked, okay? But she didn't. She trusted the process, which goes back to the hair and the tortoise, which goes back to the mask with Jim Carrey. You have to trust the process. If you are committed and you trust the process, you will have the results and the desired outcome that you're looking for. But if you trying to take them shortcuts like the hair, you trying to step on people's necks, you trying to jump ahead of this person and jump ahead of that person versus staying in the line and wait until it's your turn, then everything that you've been waiting for, that you've been hoping for, that you've been praying for, it's going to come to you. And when it happens, it's like you didn't even know that it was for you. Just like me in them 10 days. And that's really going to be ironic. I can't believe, I still think about that to
Forever
this
and go
day.
forever.
I still think about that to this day. How I'm going to mess up my blessing with them 10 days and don't even take no time off right now. Sitting with days right now to take, and it's more than 10 days.
Mm-hmm.
And was complaining about 10 days. Because it in that mind, I wasn't wanting to walk in. I wasn't masking. I was just not wanting to do the work. I wasn't committed. And I finally got on board. And now I'm committed. And then my manager would be like, just add it to your resume. Isn't that nice to have somebody to be like, just add it to your resume. Don't forget
Mm-hmm.
to add that bullet point. This is going to help you. And be genuine about it's going to help you.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, like I said, like-minded people, right? When you have those people in your circle that are adding value, pouring into you like you pouring into them, because that's how it's supposed to be. That's how it is in relationships. I pour into you, you pour into me. We grow together. Not I pour into you and you take. And then now I don't have anything to give because I've been pouring into you and no one is like refilling my cup of coffee or latte or water
Mm-hmm.
or tea. Okay? Because I need you to pour into me. But she didn't panic. And as a result of her trusting that process and believing in the obedience that she was obedient and she made a sacrifice. She got everything back and then some. And then sometimes we must realize that you have to obey God, even when it makes you feel uncomfortable. You're like, Lord, you want me to walk away from my job? Like, for real? I said it's time for you to go.
Yeah.
But what's going to happen to me if you know, I can't let me be Robert. I can't walk away from a job without a job. Well, if he told you that your job was waiting on you, but he can't put you in that because you stuck on this job, then you won't walk away. You'll be quick to, oh, hold on, wait a minute, wait, oh. So if you told me and I knew that if I walked away from this, that I was gonna have that, then I would do it. No, that's where your faith comes in at. If you say that you believe and you know that you're good, then those are the sacrifices that you have to make. And again, sometimes them doors will open for you, but you have to take that first step. And then what is it? The rain just falls down. The blessings just overflow because you took that first step. And again, pray, ask for guidance. Stop wearing that mask. Be like, Lord, remove this mask from me. Let me walk in my truth. Let me be my authentic self. Let me be who I am supposed to be and also who you would have me to be. So as we talk about, I want it all back, Teresa. Lord, can I
Mm-hmm.
remember what I said? I want it all back. That's what they said the subject was. I want it all back. Can you handle it when you get it all back, Teresa? Can you handle the truth?
Lots of times people cannot handle it. Um, and I was trying to remember what I said to you on Sunday in reference to that. And I don't remember because I was in the spirit then. I'm not in the spirit right now. I don't
Yep.
remember, but no, lots of times we can't. And I don't think I said this, but she had. See, that's the difference. She
Right.
had it. So when you had it, and the thing is, yes, she was obedient, but when you had something and then you are without it,
Right.
most times a person can handle it when they get it back. Because if God is in them, they now appreciate it totally different from how they appreciated the first time around. Because they know what they had, they knew what it was like to live in a famine. And
Mm-hmm.
then they then go back, and because of who they were, they get what they had, and then everything that their land produced while we were in this famine,
Yep.
or while once they left. You can do that, and you can handle it when you're your authentic self and God is in you. But if He's not in you and you're not being authentic, no.
I agree because I know you probably haven't watched it yet, but you've probably seen little clips. Nelly and Ashanti, and I love Nelly and Ashanti. Nelly is my birthday twin, November 2nd. Yes, Mr. Scorpio. um, they have a new reality show that just came out on Peacock. And many people were rooting for them to get back together, while others were like, she settled. But when you listen to their story, because again, as we all said, just because it worked for them, that don't mean you need to be trying to go do it yourself. Okay. Um, they talk about, even when they're doing their interviews, they talk about how they dated like off and on, I think for like 10 years or more, and how it was really, the blame was really no one, right? It was each other, right? Like everybody was accountable for the reason why the relationship didn't work out at that time. Because you had two people, we're talking about early 2000s. I know, take me back. Life was good. Early 2000s, they both were kind of like new artists, kind of came out around the same time, and they were really focused on their career. So when you think about your relationship, and particularly a relationship like that, you are trying to remain relevant. And this was prior to social media. I know, surprise, right? Social media only existed a few days ago. Okay. And he actually talks about that because now he is relaunching apple bottoms. If you remember those jeans, again, go back early 2000s. And he talks about in one of the episodes that, there wasn't social media. So pretty much like trying to promote yourself was really hard. So they both was focused on their career. And as a result, there may have been some cheating or whatever, but again, whatever. They decided to call it quits. And then, we had COVID. And for those that, during COVID, DJ Nice, I think it's his name, he decided to do verses.
Mhm.
So where, two artists, typically same kind of genre, maybe same era of music, would like battle each other online. And the platform grew because then, we went from being locked in the house to being able to go outside. And so now we're looking at it streaming, and they happen to be, Ashanti and Nelly happen to be there together. They said which I thought was interesting because again, they're in that same arena, right? Um, hmm, Talk about how God be setting you up for for a comeback and you don't even know it. Because she said that it had been like 8+ years since they had actually seen each other. That was their first time seeing each other, was at that versus performance. And so he took the first step and walked up to her and he hugged her. And, the rest has kind of been like history. And so when we talk about things happening at the right time, again, this worked for them. I'm not going to say it's going to work for you. Okay. That's why you have to go in prayer. Okay. And ask, is this it, Lord? Okay. And ask for that purple Lambo or what, that yellow butterfly, whatever you need for confirmation. But because they chose to walk away. Same way as the lady. You see where I'm going, Teresa?
I'm with you. I'm with you.
The same way the lady was told she was going to have to leave. Her and her family, they were going to be a family. She was going to have to leave. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
They didn't say she couldn't come back. They just said that
Okay.
at this moment, you're going to have to leave.
Mm-hmm.
And she,
Mm-hmm.
and she said, okay, I got you. So early 2000s, it wasn't a good time for them. So they chose to go their separate way. Of course, they dated other people,
Mm-hmm.
throughout that time period being away. But then when they spun that block again, talking about restoring, as we say, they haven't stopped smiling. They haven't stopped laughing. I think this is the most I've heard Ashanti laugh. Like, I didn't even know Ashanti laughed as much as she does. And it's like, you can tell that it works for them, right? Because they were obedient. They took the time away to work on self. And working on self, whether it was the career, whether it was me, the individual, right? Because now they can be there, at least again, to the public, their authentic self. They're no longer wearing the mask. They now know who they are and whose they are. So therefore, I don't have to agree with what you don't like that I'm doing. Because of course, during the time period all this was filmed, one of the episodes was the whole, inauguration. And y'all know that was like, we had canceled Nelly. Now I ain't gonna say I had canceled Nelly, but
I didn't, because it's getting hot in here.
for
And that's
real,
and then
okay.
that other album. You know how I feel about Nelly. No, I
Yes,
didn't. No.
honey. I love me some country grandma.
That's it. That's that country. Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
love me some country grandma.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so now he wasn't canceled with me, but with other people, they had canceled him. And as his wife, she expressed her concern, even like with her mom, like, I don't think it's a good idea. Like, uh, but it's what he said. And as he stated, first of all, I don't owe nobody an explanation, which I agree. Right? Like, we move the way that we choose to move because that's how we choose to move. I don't have to get clarification or acceptance or your blessing, Teresa, if I want to go buy this $1 million house. Now, it don't matter if I can't afford it. But if I say I'm gonna go buy this $1 million house, you just gonna say, okay, Anjay, you go get that $1 million house. Now, if I get to crying after the fact that I bought that $1 million house, that I can't, keep it going, just be
Mm-hmm.
like, do the best you can and just keep it moving. But he said that it had nothing to do with the candidate, which is what everyone was trying to make it be about.
Yes.
Because he's an army brat. Like, he grew up his father was in the military. So for him, it was more of the honor and the privilege
Yeah.
of having this opportunity to perform in a setting, in a room, to network, to have those conversations with those people that you would not normally have those conversations with. And so he was going to take this opportunity,
Mm-hmm.
and he did. And then the rest is history because now he get ready to go on tour if the tour hasn't already started. And then they got this, they have like I said,
Yeah.
they have this show that's out. And then, there's other different things that they are working on. So again, as a result of them trusting the process, it's the point that I'm trying to make to say all of that.
Yeah.
As a result of them being obedient, making the sacrifices, working on self, they were able to be restored umpteen years later, and now it works for them. With anything, there's always going to be good and bad days. It's always going to be ups and downs. That's with anything. That's with your job. That's with your relationship with friends, relationship with family, relationship with your partner. It's never always everything is good, right? Like, you're going to have those moments where there are disagreements because, of course, he is in St. Louis and she's in New York. So we see that they have that disagreement of where they're going to live. People are talking about, well, he doesn't, he's always complaining about his child, KK, right? Like, he never helps her with the child. Okay, again, remember, y'all, we're only seeing like a 30-minute or however long minute episode. Okay. And he stays very, I love that Scorpio. He was very honest until he can be more on his own, KK, the son. That's all on her. That's all on her. He didn't say that he's not going to be there to support her emotionally. If she needs help, of course, he's going to make sure that she has the help that she needs. How many people can say that? Exactly. Uh, Again, he's going to be that support system that she needs, but she's breastfeeding. And for those that breastfeed, you know, you're pumping all the time. Like, so it's like you're pretty much, I didn't do that, but for those that did, and from what I see, it's like you're pretty much attached to your kid, because it's like you're constantly pumping, trying to make sure that they have the milk that they need when they need it. So he never said that, oh, that's your kid and I'm hands off. No, he just said when he gets a little older and, he can go to the bathroom and he can walk around, then of course he's going to always be with him, but that's his child. But we focus on the wrong thing. We need to focus on the fact that as a result of doing the work, they were able to spin the block and come back as two individuals who now are one. And they're blended. So when we talk about the mask, when we talk about the hare and the tortoise, and even when we talk about the scripture, you have to be your authentic self. You have to worry about you and stop worrying about what other people think about you. Because as long as you are being you, I'm a firm believer that the circles that you're supposed to be in, those conversations that you're supposed to be a part of, they will happen for you because people are going to see you for you, not the person that you are portraying that you are. And yes, I'm going to turn it back over to you, Teresa, because I really do want to get back on that. I want it all back. I want that good thing back. I want what somebody else has. If they were able to achieve it, then I can achieve it. And you can. You have to do the work. As your mentor would say, you can have just as much as that person has, but you have to be willing to do the work. You have to be willing to put in the sweat equity, as they always say, in order to achieve your desired outcome. So, as you think about these three different scenarios, and we think about the mask, what would be your takeaway? If you were having this conversation with someone that was struggling, and I know you're going to rephrase this, if you were having this conversation with someone who was having an identity crisis because they done bought into their cover story, they don't know who they are, but they trying to find out who they are, what would be the conversation that you would have with them?
Well, OnJerya, this has been a rich conversation tonight. And I'm going to wrap us up and close this out as I respond to that. Um, you've dropped a lot of different nuggets, and TAS said I could have whatever I like. Um, and I want you back. I want it all back. I think about the Jackson Five
Yeah.
with that also. And then you brought us down. You talked about trusting the process, stop worrying about others. And when the Bible tells us not to worry anyway.
Right.
I know somebody wrote a song that if you're gonna worry, don't pray. Um, it's a gospel song, and they're very right with that. And then you took us to using Nelly and Ashante as a backdrop of how individuals went their separate way, but they were authentic. They still remained authentic, and how they were able to come back together. And you mentioned even death, or either in my mind, I'm hearing death. And you mentioned restoration,
Right.
because when you talk about the lady going back, everything was restored to her, and even what she didn't have was restored. That her land had generated. And then I think about, and that made me think about death, resurrection, and then the restoration. And, when we think about Christ, he didn't have a mask on, but the people didn't understand who he was. But then he died, and then everything was restored. Meaning, when he died and he came back, he had descended back into heaven, but he was not human anymore. And he always had the power when he was walking. He had the power, but he had all power then. But we don't think about it that way. And so I think if I were to take all of the different things, and you asked me what would I say to someone, how would I work with someone who's struggling with their mask?
Mm-hmm.
I know I'm gonna end this, but I'm still thinking about someone too. And I don't think you know the person I'm thinking about, because I'm thinking about the lessons I learned from this person all the time. And I know that some things are changing in their life right now. And I had an opportunity to interview them. And when I interviewed them, I can't remember my exact question, but they got emotional. And that was earlier this year. Now they are releasing their biography, Invincible. I'm talking about Cyrus Webb. And I'm listening to all of the things that you've been teaching tonight and my responses. And then I'm like, Cyrus doesn't wear a mask.
Right.
Cyrus is Cyrus Webb. He doesn't wear a mask. And what I want to say about that is, I believe, when it's time, when it's time, because you begin to remove the layers that you've enveloped yourself in. Not a mask necessarily, because I'm not on the mask people yet right now. I'm on Cyrus Webb. You begin to, when it's time to let it go and walk in who you are.
Right.
Because I believe you will begin to see what some people would say cracks in your armor. But it's not really cracks in your armor, because those who know you, who know the real person and see you as a real human being, they've seen that person all the time.
Yeah.
But those who don't really know you and they see you as this character, they only see what they need to see because of their mask.
Mm-hmm.
But when you actually see who I am, when others begin to see it, you're not surprised, because you never saw me as a person who was wearing a mask. So let me take it to you a little deeper now. Timothy, I think, wanted, can I put my fingers in the holes in your side? Can I stick my fingers in the holes in your hand, Jesus? I think it's Timothy. Thomas, was it Thomas? Oh, one of the disciples, apostles.
Thomas.
It's Thomas, it's not Thomas. It's Thomas, I don't know who Timothy is. That
Right.
another one too. Thomas. because he couldn't believe it. Because remember, they saw Jesus as a person with a mask on. So I see that this looks like the man who has come back. He's been restored. He's no longer dead. But can I push my fingers through the holes in your hand? Can I push my fingers in the holes in your side? Because you see, I'm not sure you're who you say you are now. But if I can do that, then yeah, this might be that Jesus of Nazareth, that we don't walk around with that turned water into wine, that fed the multitudes with nothing, raised Lazarus from the dead. This could be him. But you see, it wasn't that Jesus wore the mask. Thomas wore the mask. And because I had a mask on, I could not see that this was the Messiah. Even when they hung him and he said he'd get up 3 days, I can't comprehend that. So when I go back to what I'm talking about with Cyrus Webb, when he was emotional with me, and we grew up in the church, I'm an usher, um, you know, take your time, because I grew up in the church. And so that's how I approach something like that when someone gets emotional with me. I understood in that moment that the cage was open, that he was no longer going to be confined. Meaning what I saw, the world would now begin to see. Because I didn't see the mask. I saw the man. Let me quote Sidney Poitier, and guess who's coming to dinner? You saw a Black man. I saw a man. You thought of me as a Black man. I thought of myself as a man. So I saw the man, and it was inevitable, which is the name of his biography. That's going to be released, I think it's in October. It's inevitable. Mm-hmm. So, and I'm drawing a parallel there with when the disciples had walked with Christ, but still they thought it was a mask. And when he got up and was restored, Thomas still was like, I don't know who this is. I don't know who this is. Because you're operating from your mask. You cannot believe that someone could be authentic and not operate from a mask. It was inevitable. Now, and that's Cyrus Webb's, his biography's coming out in October. Inevitable. You can pre-order it now.
On Amazon.
On Amazon. Thank you. So when you ask me how I would work with someone, having just did the TAS moment where I talked about the fox, and I talked about that oak tree, that the fox who thinks he's all that in bags of chips and everything, got it going on, but he looked at that beautiful mask, but he realized he didn't have a brain. So it didn't mean anything. Then, I talked about the oak tree and the reef, and the oak tree's mighty oak tree, so, big and strong. He thought he had it going on too. Until the storm came, it broke. The reef still flowing in the wind because it's flexible. So when I think about all of that, what I see is Jim Carrey as with the mask represent and the hair. They're the same. Also, that oak, it's the same. You project one thing when you are not that. Stanley knew he was not that, but that's who he thought he wanted to be. And as a result, that's what he projected. And it seemed like it was getting him what he wanted, but it really wasn't. Because we see that it doesn't get you what you want when we see what happens to the hair. Then we see what happens to that oak tree. Oak tree, broken head. So, I guess what I would say is you have a choice to make. You could wear the mask like the fox or Stanley. You can race like the hare. You can stand tall like the oak. But in the end, the mask will slip.
Yep.
The storm will come. And the race will test you. What matters most is not how you look, but how you're rooted and how you're growing and who you really are on the inside. And if you want to live, if you want to reach your fullest potential and maintain it without having to give up something, a part of yourself, or do things that hurt you, then you have the decision to make. Do
Yep.
you want to be a mask wearing person, or do you want to be an authentic person who accepts who you are and understanding that your vulnerability is what's needed to help somebody else? But you cannot, that Gloria, you cannot, that Lainey, you cannot, oh Jesus, help me somebody. You cannot coin who you are. The world
Mhm.
has to do it. The mantle is passed to you, Elijah. Come on, Jesus. I know you bring it for me so I can say it nicely. Elijah gave the mantle to Elisha, SH. I got it right? Because that was the younger one that, chase up. He wanted a double portion. So let me finish it up by saying this. You got a choice to make, but you cannot knight yourself. You have to be knighted.
Mm-hmm.
You get me now when I'm talking about that mantle? You don't put that mantle on you. It has to be given to you.
Yep.
Let me say it another way for those who don't know. I'm a prophetess, but it's not something I talk about very often because I didn't put that on me. He told me that, and I take it very seriously. I only speak when he says speak because I speak for God. I don't speak for TAS when I'm talking that type of stuff. I speak for him. You can't put things on yourself, the mask, and expect it to be good. It may be good for a while,
True.
but oh, by and by, the storm will come. And you got to be rooted. It's hard to be rooted in your own crap. And what does she mean by that as she wraps this up? When you are called and you put the work in, you're not rooted in yourself. You're rooted in God. So you want to be rooted in the right thing. And I'm gonna have to get off this because now I'm hearing something in my head, but I'm gonna say it anyway. You gonna let me say that, Lord? You've got to know who's speaking to you.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure you know whose voice you're hearing. And make sure you know whose voice you're hearing. Make sure you know whose voice you're hearing. And if you're being authentic, if you're being authentic, if you are being authentic, you will see results. They may not happen in 5 years, they may not happen in 10 years, but you will see results. If you are being authentic and you have actually done the work, not just with what your task is, but done the work on you.
Yep.
God does not bless mess. You have to clean up in order for him to bless you. Saul became Paul. You got to clean up. You know, we have in my church. I'm Baptist. You have to confess with your da 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 da. You have to give yourself to Christ. You got to clean up. That's cleaning up. That's cleaning up. So if you are struggling with something, I feel like I'm doing altar call again.
I know.
If
I'm
you,
like, girl.
every week he got me doing altar call. But obviously there is somebody that is supposed to hear this because here I am doing altar call. If you are struggling with something,
Yeah.
and you are not, it's never us making it work or making it happen. See, he makes it happen. It's not us. So if you're struggling and you have been hoping and praying for something and it doesn't materialize, there is work to be done.
Yep.
And it's the inner work in you. It's not that what you're doing externally is not working. It's probably working, but you haven't done the inner work. And God does not bless things when you haven't done the work. If you haven't had your Damascus, I could call it my Damascus Road experience. Until you have your Damascus Road experience, he doesn't bless.
Nope.
Because there has to be a transformation. You talked about that restoration. Stanley went through a change. He was always, he had Damascus, he liked the party. But he ultimately went through a real transformation.
Yep.
And that's what we're trying to get through to, is that real transformation. So for that person, whomever they are, it's all the stuff that I said, but you have got to actually pray. That acronym's still with me. You got to pray to get to the real transformation. And this is really for somebody. I'm hearing Carl Kinney again in my head. When drugs wouldn't do it for me, when women wouldn't do it for me, when this won't do it, when that won't do it, when you've done all these different things. This is the past Carl Kinney was preaching. That's what he was saying in that sermon. God has a plan for your life. When you've done this, 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 and it's still not working. You need to ask him, God, what is it that I haven't done? What is it that's still on the table that needs to be done? Because there's something that hadn't been done. Something. And I don't know who you are. There's something that has not been done yet by you that hadn't been done. And until that's done, he's not going. You're going to be in the same space over and over again. And I know this from experience because he doesn't move in my life until I've done whatever it is that he wants me to do. And I've gotten used to it. He does not, he don't move. But once I finally complete what he wants me to do, then he moves like that. So that's what I would tell them, OnJerya. Take the mask off. If I was on Broadway, let's take off all that paint, that war paint, for the lights and all this. Let's take all this stuff off. And let's get to that real person. Because that's where you can make change.
Yeah.
But that change has to occur because that's what that person wants. Just because T.I. said I could have whatever I like and I'm going to get it back, I'm not going to get it back if I ain't done what I need to do.
Uh-uh.
So that's the kicker. I don't get it back if I don't do it. Job got it all back and more, but Job finally did what he needed to do. See, we and I'm gonna end this out. We get fixated on one little part.
Yep.
But we miss the whole thing. We're going up for something on the buffet. Oh, I want these shrimp and grits. Well, they had all this other stuff too, baby. I mean, they had filet mignon, they had the Alaskan crab legs, or whatever another type of crab legs that's supposed to be so good. They got all this other stuff. You just gonna have shrimp and grits. Well, you can have shrimp and grits at the house.
Right.
But you're so single focused. You think if I get this, that's going to change it. If I do this, that's going to change it. No, no. You got to learn to be real. And I am going to wrap us up. I'm going to have to now.
What's that
When,
song?
well,
To be real.
oh, is that Sherelle? Sherelle, I think it is. Sherelle, I think it is. When God drops realness in your atmosphere, understand that and appreciate it, because that realness is there to help you. But you got to be able to tell what's real and what's not. And that's hard when you've been wearing a mask your whole life. And again, we are so happy that you're with us. I want y'all to think about what I just said. It's hard to know real when you've been wearing a mask your whole life. OnJerya, you have just been so scholarly tonight. I just don't know what I'm going to do with you. Thank you, guys. You don't know either. I don't know either. But remember, before you go try and take care of someone else, make sure you take care of yourself first. And thank you for joining us. And remember, there is strength in being vulnerable.
Yep.
Don't wear a mask just because everybody's wearing a mask. Your authenticity is going to be your superpower. Believe you me. And again, thank you so much for joining us. And remember, before you go try and take care of somebody, please make sure you take care of yourself first. Bye now.
Bye.